Yeah, it's mindset cafe, we all got that mindset. Gotta stay focused, never settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only positive.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy, Devin. And today we got a guest. We got Tim Holloway. He is not only an entrepreneur, but he is also a podcast host of the Men of Influence. And I'm excited to dive in today. We met a few weeks back and, I really liked his mindset, his perspective on things. So, Tim, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing some wisdom.
Awesome, brother. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, and thank you for that slapping intro, man. You come on after that, you're ready to go, man.
Thank you. So, let's dive in. How did you get started in the entrepreneurial space, in the podcast space? Where was your start first off?
Yeah. So I was, I was working for the man for quite some time, whether it was construction industry or treatment center environment. I had two different careers that spanned over about 8 year span for each one. And during that time, I was always trying to come up with a side hustle. So there was a bit of entrepreneurial spirit in me. I'm not quite sure where I got it, but it was in me, and I was constantly looking for side things to do that would eventually take off. And so I had a couple of things that I tried, a couple of ventures. There's a couple of things that stuck really well. So the one that stuck really well was furniture. So we'd get a local warehouse. We found out that was local in our community where we can pick up and avoid all the shipping costs and all that stuff. And we started selling it on Facebook. And we traveled to like hotspot areas like Vegas and San Diego and all these different hotspots, sold furniture ahead of time. And then we just did like a vacation trip where we sold furniture out of the back of the truck. So anyways, it was those sort of things that that eventually stockpiled a nest egg of money and got us really an appetite for entrepreneurship, to the point where it was time to step away from the treatment center and go on and pursue entrepreneurship. So that's kind of the way that it happened.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I want to dive into that a little bit because
Sure.
you were doing two things, right? You had two different career paths, right? And
I did.
And they weren't, what's crazy is they weren't really related necessarily. I mean, they may have had some ties, whether it was the clientele or, people that you knew, but after those two things, right, you decided, okay, I saved a certain amount of money and then I wanted to dive into the entrepreneurial space. Now with that's a huge leap, right? What was the mindset that you had at the time where you're like, because obviously you said you were stockpiling money and, things were going well. Uh-huh. So it wasn't you didn't become an entrepreneur out of necessity necessarily, right? It was out of desire. So what was that mindset switch that you're like, I want to be my own boss?
Yeah, I see this through men, and they often reach out to me, and they're at that point. And what that looks like is, I'm working for the man. I'm working for some sort of 9 to 5 job. It's clock in, clock out, and I don't feel that my resources and my potential are tapped. Right? I just had a guy reach out to me last week. He's like, bro, I'm a security guard at a school, and all they got me doing is bathroom duty. And this dude like has a heart that it's like, I'm just meant to outgrow all this. I'm meant to expand. And so anybody who's in that frame is going to feel a sense of like dissatisfaction. Is this all there is? Like, am I meant for more? And so my common advice with that is, you gotta step out and do something on the side, and then still work your job, do something on the side, and then when you'll know the time is right, when that thing begins to consume the other thing, you start showing up at work, your mind's not even into anything that you're doing. It's all over here, and then this is all consuming, and it starting to snowball and stockpile, and then it's like, it's time for me to go. I recommend that method. The other method would be, you know, maybe a more crazy, chaotic method of I'm just going to cut on my job and I'm just going to go run and do this. And so there's a lot of risk in that. I'm not saying that people can't do that, but my path was a little bit more wisdom.
No, and I envy that path. I mean, I did the other path that you're talking about where I just got fed up and I was just like, F it, I'm doing this on my own. And then my girlfriend, now wife, was like, well, how are you gonna do it? I was like, I don't know yet. I'm gonna figure it out. Like,
Yeah,
just it was that point where like I knew I could do more and I wanted to do more. And it was finally that like conflict, I would say with, the gym owner at the time, that it was almost like he didn't force my hand, but he gave me enough push to make me make that jump. Right. And,
yeah,
either way works. But I think what people and men especially need to realize is that you don't have to burn the boats. Right. And
sure, sure.
because a lot of people in entrepreneur, I mean, I want to get your take on this. You hear a lot of, entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs or motivational speakers, such as, let's say, David Goggins or Jocko, right? Like they're like, burn the boats and, just go all in. And it's like, yeah, that is one way. Right. But
Yeah, sure.
if you think that's the only way and you're not taking the jump because how scary that is, it's okay. There is another way, such as the route you took. Like, how do you
Yeah,
feel?
yeah. Yeah, so I think I'm thinking of like a cowboy stage of manhood, and you just make decisions at the spur of the moment, and you're not concerned about the outcome. You kind of just like you're rough and you're going to make this happen. So I don't want to discount that because I think when people's backs are against the wall, they can that can produce in them a sense of urgency and energy and all of that stuff. So, if you take that path, um, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that if you have a family of five and you don't have income stocked up, then you might want to take a different route to it. If you're in the cowboy stage and it's the damage is very minimal, that might well be your path. So me, it was a little bit of both in the sense of I did save up, but the letting go of the career in the thing with it was I was grandfathered in and there was no way for me to come back. So there was a little bit of, yeah, major closer because if I had to come back, then I had to go back to school because I was no longer grandfathered in. So it was like, it was the end of an era and I can't get that job anywhere else in the nation right now unless I go back to school. So there's a little bit of both, man. There's always going to be that risk, and I tell you, when it came time to go, there was all kinds of doubt. Like there was fear, doubt, all kinds of stuff that you get attacked with scarcity. Yeah, there's a lot of things to face during that moment of releasing that cord or cutting it off, man.
No, definitely. And I
Yeah,
think just like you said, like, there is, whether it's burn the birds or whether it's, save up some money and then take the jump, like there's still a value of risk to it
there
regardless.
is.
Right. But I think
There
something
is.
important that I want you to kind of dive into a little bit is you mentioned when you basically did it and that whole thing that was scary, right? Each person that becomes an entrepreneur or has a career change, there's obviously different levels to it, family of five, single, and without a relationship, obviously different weights to their risk as well. But one
Mhm.
of the things you mentioned was, there's doubt, there's the scarcity mindset. And believe me, I mean, I can tell you my firsthand experience at both of those, right? And just like every entrepreneur, what was your way of, facing or overcoming your self-doubt or, your self-limiting beliefs?
Yeah, I look at my life and it's been a process of shedding, and I take at that point of taking the leap that there's always a death of the old you, and we understand this kind of metaphorically, like when you become married, that is the death of your single life.
Yeah.
If you try to go into marriage with the single life, I give it about a year's time and you're gonna run into problems, right? That's the same thing when we have kids, bro. It's like there was a time before marriage, there was a time before kids, there's a time after kids, and there is a time at entrepreneurship and before, in all of it, it all requires a death of what we used to be, who we used to. And so with that is a mindset of, gosh, I have to let go of, like, there's nobody around me motivating me. I have to motivate myself. There's no leadership hierarchy structure that I must answer to. I must answer to myself. And so all of that is a process of death to the previous person we were. And so what that looks like with me is like, there was mindset and ideas that I had that weren't going to work in the in the next level. They might have got me to that point, but they weren't going to serve me now. And you start noticing those because of problems and deficiencies that you're rising, and you still got this old mindset. And so it was a process of time where those things begin to show up, and you can, get rid of them by acknowledgement and stuff like that. So
No, that's awesome. And I really liked your analogy of shedding, right? I mean,
shedding.
I've never even thought about that, but it's so true, right? Whether it's, let's say a reptile shedding their skin to, go into their new skin, or I was even thinking about like a crab, how they have to shed their shell to grow into their new shell. And it's just like every obstacle in life, whether it's business, whether it's, anything in your life, every obstacle that or hurdle that you've had to overcome, like that's you shedding a layer of your old you to become the new you, right? You don't know all the skills, all the tools that you need to have to become the version of you that you can right now could only dream of. But again, it's just a process, right? A caterpillar doesn't know it's going to be a butterfly, right? So I think that's so awesome. What Still staying on the topic, I want to say, what do you do? Because like, even for myself, right, you have those self-limiting doubts and beliefs on a general scale, right, like overall, but then you have the days, right, the days that things just aren't going right, everything feels like it's not moving the way it was, you were hoping or whatever. So then you start doubting yourself, like, did I make the right move? And I mean, you might be a year, 5 years, 10 years into business, and you still have those beliefs. What do you do on a day that you have, those doubts?
Yeah, it's a little bit of maybe growth and maturity that comes with this process. So I talked about the kind of death and the shedding, and this is never ending. Like, I'm currently in another realm to where it's like each level that we go, like for example, when I got into entrepreneurship, I was in the business in a very functional way, doing a lot of the work. As far as we run a podcast launch and management company, and I was the audio engineer. I was this person and that person and that person, and so it's like, um, you come into entrepreneurship, and if you're not careful, you just become another employee, or worse, you become just kind of like a freelancer. And so it's like that person had to die to go to the next level, and then even that level, I got past that one. So now I'm like the face of the company, and I'm doing the marketing and looking at, okay, so where do we go from here? The Tim that operated this year has to die for the next person. So, I limiting beliefs are all attached to deficiencies. This is what I like to tell everybody. If you rate yourself on the different areas of your life, or you rate yourself in your business, you can guarantee that there is a limiting belief that's attached to your deficiency. The area that you're rocking with, I can guarantee you that there's probably not that many barriers in your mind keeping you from that success. The barriers are in the deficiency. So when people talk to me about limiting beliefs, I say, well, let's start with the areas that you feel deficient, and guess what the deficiency produces? I've seen this in my life. Triggers. It's areas of frustration, because if I got a deficiency, I'm obviously angry and frustrated about it. So deficiencies, triggers, and then what is triggers? Now I'm start talking to my self-talk. So all of these are indicators of a belief that is not going to support you in the next level. So I would listen to your deficiencies, to your emotions, to your triggers, and to your self-talk, because they're going to tell you that there is a limiting belief that you need to confront.
No, definitely. And I agree with that 100%. And it is a never ending game. I like to say those doubts and the mental battle of being in entrepreneurship is like looking at the horizon. It doesn't end, right?
It doesn't. It doesn't end.
So with that, I think that's so key that you said, you're going to have limiting beliefs. You're going to have these self-doubts. You're going to have these self-conflicting, issues, and don't avoid them, right? If you avoid them, they don't get solved, right? Like any problem. And just like any problem, there is a solution, right? And what is that solution? Is it a skill or a talent or a tool that you don't know yet? And then now after you listen, you can analyze it, and then you can, okay, I need to go get the resources to understand this and learn this and, move forward. But if you don't, and you're just putting it off, it only compounds and grows. And then you end up just throwing your computer against the wall or saying, I give up. All right.
I agree. The thing that I hear as you're talking is oftentimes our beliefs need to match our skill set.
Mm-hmm.
If we determine that I got a skill set problem, and then we go and we get the skill, let's say, and we're operating the skill, we're working the system and the plan, and it still doesn't seem to work. We do have to ask ourselves, well, is my belief and my mindset in congruent with my skill set? Because we could still hold ourselves back by kind of heart level beliefs that we think skill set is going to solve. So it's kind of like a thing that I experienced, working on my physical body, being very out of shape, and then, getting in more healthier shape and stuff. That physical thing, it's good, but if the heart and the belief system is not set with it to achieve that success, and I've seen it, it's like people lose all the fat and they still feel like something's wrong with them. It's like, well, you didn't correlate the mindset and the belief system with the skill set that you were learning, and you achieved that which you wanted, and you're still like not happy with the results. So yeah, my thing is, let's put them both together. um so it works more, compatible.
No, exactly. And
Yeah.
I want to touch up on something I saw that you posted the other day. It was a quote from someone else, but it says, you can't pray away conflict.
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer in coupling belief and action. I think belief and faith is not like kind of real genuine unless it comes to action. So that'd be demonstrated one of my core beliefs, and it's kind of like what we believe inside of the secret about your energy and manifesting things and attracting the things in your life, and your inner world mirrors your outer world, and that you need to change your inside before you expect your outside is going to change. But beyond that is then to manifest the actions that are going to get you the results that you want. So I'm a firm believer in belief, faith set, carry that over into action and skill set, and you put the both of those together, and you're going to have some success. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, when I saw that, I was like, wow, I was thinking about it even on a different level. I was like, you can't pray away conflict, right? And what that resonated to me when I read it, maybe it was a little more surface level, but it was, you can wish and you can hope and you can pray for something to happen, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen, right? And some things like conflict, right? Just like, let's say, joy or, sadness, right? It's inevitable at some point in life, in one fashion of your, or one section of your life or whatever. But the understanding that you are strong enough to deal with that conflict because you have all the tools necessary to overcome
That's
it.
key.
and or you have the mindset. Like, this is one of my things that, I was actually talking with someone the other day and telling them, like, believe me, some people may think that I'm cocky, or I say it's confidence, but it's not confidence in the fact that I think I'm the best, or I think have this delusional reality where I think I'm better than everyone. That's not it whatsoever. I just know that I'm confident enough in myself to get something done if I want to get it done. If I have a goal, I know I'm gonna get it done, not because I have all the tools right now, but because I know I will find a way, I will find the resources, I will do my research, I will talk to the people I need to talk to. And just like you can't pray away conflict, some things are inevitable, right? And sometimes it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I have a faith and a spirituality about me, but it's not one uh, that prays for God to kind of work everything out. It's a little more connected to what you're talking about. Is maybe His power working in and through me to be able to accomplish great things. So I have the same mindset you have. I don't feel any internal deficiency. I feel as powerful as I want to be. I feel as powerful as I'm willing to connect myself to be, or I believe myself to be. And I'm with you. It's like, if I feel a deficiency, then I'm going to take a proactive stance with that deficiency and go, the lead gen on my marketing's a little, I think for the next little bit, I'm going to eat, sleep, and breathe lead gen until this deficiency is no more. And whether that's meditating on, the power that you have at your disposal, the skill sets and really sinking the belief in, or whether that's reading books about lead gen or listening to podcasts, whatever it is a very proactive sort of existence, to where if a limitation is sensed, it's going out there in correcting that, because I'm not going to stay in the state of suffering.
Right. No,
Yeah.
definitely. And so what are your thoughts on, I mean, and this mindset is a little bit of a tougher mindset, right? Like a little more strict, or, raw, I guess. Right. And the mindset is that nobody cares. And while that seems harsh, it's the reality of everyone has problems, and you can be a person that complains about the problems and the same problem over and over and over and over again, just letting people hear your problem and then wanting them to feel bad for you. But at the end of the day, nobody cares, because they have their own problems as well. And I'm not saying that nobody
Yeah.
cares about you. I'm just saying that if you're looking for that, pity and stuff, other high level achievers are not going to give you that pity just to give you that pity. Will they help
Yeah.
you find the resources and the tools if you're willing to look? 100%. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I feel like as humanity as a whole, I think we're I think we're on a process of discovery. I think we don't know and understand our capabilities. I think we're ignorant in so many ways, and we lack awareness. So, saying all that, I say each one of us is on kind of like a hero's journey,
Mm-hmm.
where we pick up the equipment that we need, and we fight these different levels, and we overcome, and we step up to the next level, and all this different stuff. And the part that you're talking about is more of, they don't see themselves as actually the hero of the story. They actually see themselves as the victim. And so the hero, of course, is victimized in some way. Like, there is some major tragedy. You look at all the stories, there's some sort of victimization that happens to the hero. And so the differentiator between whether a circumstance or something crushes you or makes you, it's all in your belief system and your mindset, because the same person can experience the same circumstance and have totally different outcomes. Their pain and all that stuff can be their platform and all that stuff. And so, it's shifting to what is my worldview? In this world, am I a victim, and am I being acted upon by all of these forces? And if that's the case, then all you could do is sit and complain, like, oh my gosh, everyone's out to get me. Look at the government. Like, and we have all of these conspiracy biases that confirm that we're just this little victim. And so I would say it starts with the kind of hero mindset. I'm in this hero's journey, and I think everybody's on this journey. I just think that there's people at certain levels that are getting defeated by their giant, and they haven't really recognized or tapped into the power that they have at their disposal. If they did, their mindset would shift, but it's not going to shift when they hold on to the limiting belief that I'm a grasshopper in the side of this giant. It's just not going to happen.
I love that. I love that. That was awesome. So to expand on that a little bit more, because that was a little side tangent. I just, I thought of as you were talking, because again, you've already dropped so much knowledge and different perspectives for everyone listening. And if you guys are listening, make sure you guys share this show. We're not done yet, but make sure you guys share this show with someone that needs to get that little reminder to not limit themselves and that you see more in them, right? But Tim, one of the other things I know that you're big on is emotional healing, right? So tying into the limiting beliefs, tying into, these different aspects that we've been discussing, what is your take on emotional healing, and how could someone start the process of healing themselves emotionally?
Yeah. I believe awareness is really key in this, and a sense of like honesty and vulnerability, and a willingness to uh, go there. A little tough. All of these things are really tough in general. We're not, as humanity, we're not maybe programmed for these things. I think we're actually programmed to fail until we recognize that we're programmed to fail and reprogram ourselves. But yeah, emotional intelligence is actually um, identifying feelings, knowing what's going on inside of your heart, what is causing this. A lot of this stuff is connected to our programming. It's the way I define it is there's certain situations that happen to you, and from that situation you sheared something on your heart, and basically it's written on your heart, and could be like for me, getting taken away from my mother, and her not being able to quit drugs to keep us, communicated to me that I was unlovable, or I wasn't worthy, or I wasn't good enough for her to change, and their beliefs that just really they're hammered in there, and we often don't know that we have them. But like I said, through all that other process, they will be brought to the surface, because this is the whole experience that we're all going through, is to bring those things to the surface so we can acknowledge them and be aware of them and begin the healing journey. And to go into a little bit what that looks like is very reframing. It's taking a different mindset. With my mother, it was like, gosh, she was in a line of just trauma upon trauma upon trauma, and she was operating to the best of her abilities at the time, and offering a sense of putting myself in her shoes in the form of empathy. Of It wasn't really about me. She was doing the best that she could. She was struggling. She was wounded. She was addicted. She was all of these different things. I mean, my sister was murdered and my brother was tortured. Like, she experienced all of this stuff, and it's like it brings you to a heart of compassion and grace, and say, you know what, I can drop the story that I'm unlovable, and I can grab the story that my mom was in a hero's journey in her own pain, and these giants were really kicking her ass, and give a sense of compassion that maybe she was defeated by those things.
I mean, you're obviously a testament to this emotional intelligence, this emotional healing, because the things you just said, I didn't know, and that just stunned me for a second, because someone with a emotional intelligence and a perspective on life as you do is definitely, in the 1% for the things that, you have experienced in life, right? But that goes to show that anyone can do it if they're willing to put in the work and they're willing to, change their perspective. Because in my opinion, your reality is just your perspective, right?
Mhm.
There's your perspective, there's my perspective, and then there's the actual reality of things, right?
Yes.
So your world, your reality, your life is the way you see the world. If you start to change the way you see the world, you start to change your reality.
That's true. I would like to comment on that because the way this works, our mind works, is to create that heart belief. There has to be an assumption made, like a judgment assumption. Because of this, I'm this. And then there has to be a lot of emotion attached to it for it to be able to sink down. Just this simple thought of, well, my mother doesn't love me. No, it doesn't. It doesn't affect. It had to carry with it the belief and the emotion that was attached to it, and then feeling the sorrow of it. And so you hit the nail on the head. That is a programming that was put on me. It was an assumption or a view of the world. And as we grow and mature in this emotional intelligence, we face and challenge those things head on, and we reframe them to our hero's journey that we're going on. And we, instead of us being the victim, we end up being something else. This is the way this worked with my stepdad. Now, I'm not saying all of this comes easy. I'm saying you might, if it depends on how deep the stuff is, you might end up wailing, you might end up crying, you might end up releasing. Like, who knows what's going to happen when you go there. But with my stepfather, it was like, it's amazing that I can get a sense of gratitude for him now just by shifting the mindset and saying all those times that, like, you tore me down, and all those times that all that stuff that you did, and after I processed that, you showed me how strong I actually was. Even though he's all messed up, he's like all of these problems, he's like schizophrenic and all that stuff. It's like, but what's the viewpoint that I'm going to have? Um, we get to decide that, man. We get to decide that, and it determines, how far we're going to go.
No, I think you're so right. And again, that just shows you the value of the perspective, right? The value of your perception of things. If you can look at a situation and you can see the side of it could be, oh, poor me, but then you could also flip it and be like, wow, look at me. Look what I'm capable of, right? For example, like, the movie, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but Unbroken, right? Have you seen that movie?
I haven't. No.
Okay, so it's like
Sounds good though.
it's based on a true story, but I believe it was World War II, and there was a gentleman. I don't want to name his name because I honestly can't remember off the top of my head, but he was in a Japanese prison camp, and there was a guard basically picking on him. And at first, it was just breaking him down, and then he started seeing the other guys and other people watch, him just get beat down, and it just started to develop this strength within him. And so he
Yeah.
had to the key or like the iconic piece of the movie is like he has this huge, log essentially that he had to carry, and it was so heavy because he was malnourished and he kept dropping it. And then he kept getting hit and beat for it. And then finally he was so fed up with all the abuse, he found this courage that he can still survive. And he pushes this huge heavy log over his head and he yells. And then all the men look at him and start cheering. And, it developed this crowd. But then afterwards, it
Yeah.
just showed him how strong, no matter what external forces or external pressures or, punishment essentially can be put on you, you can get through it. Right.
Yeah, that's so good. I look at it, and my stepfather, very psychological problems, but it was a picking until you broke and exploded. He wasn't happy until you went to the boiling point of whatever your anger would bring you out to, like whether that's full on punching stuff or full on fit. He wasn't happy until he got you to that point. And I look at my life of being egged on to the breaking point constantly. And who knows? Like, I don't know, like, whether that's the strength of, like, that ain't nothing. Is that all you got? Like, I don't know where that came from, but that could have been it. So anyways, a sense of gratitude. But you're touching on really the core mindset of Viktor Frankl in World War II, being in the Nazi concentration camps. And one thing that he noticed was the men that gave up in their mind those were the ones that were no longer useful anymore, and those were the ones that ended up in the gas chambers. And so he adopted a different mindset, created his own weather, and he was able to navigate through those experiences. And it's touching into what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, it's like those kind of things and those kind of perspectives and realizations and stuff, like you're saying, it's one of those things where you can take, like I like to say, extract the lesson, right? And there's a lesson in everything in life, in my opinion, right? Whether it's a conversation like we're having right now, whether it's an interaction that you had with someone at the grocery store, you said something or did something and they gave you a look. All of a sudden you get to analyze that and be like, what did I do to make this person react that way? And now you get to learn, okay, well, if I did that, the next time I try to ask someone a question or approach a problem, I'm going to change how I approach it, right? So there's a lesson to be learned in everything in life, and you just have to be willing to learn to extract those lessons.
Yeah, I agree. I think the problem is that we're on autopilot and cruise control. So this like whole conversation we're having, it has to be like very we have to be come alive, and we have to be privy to these things, and we have to take proaction. Otherwise, we're going to continue kind of like with blinders on autopilot, and we're going to be triggered, and then we're going to respond very negatively, and yeah, so we have a natural bent towards autopilot.
No, definitely. And actually, I was just looking up the name. So yeah, the Unbroken movie. It's a true story of Louis Zamperini. So I mean, that's, just to mention that name out there, it was, his story was, incredible as well. One question I do like to ask before we start to wrap things up, and I don't like to give this, people always ask, why don't I tell them this question ahead of time to let them think and analyze this question? And it's because the honest answer isn't given, right? I want the first thing that comes to your mind, right? So you have a legacy wall, right? And on this legacy wall, it's not a tombstone, it's a legacy wall, right? It is your quote, your lesson that you would like to leave for the next generation, for, whether it's men, trying to improve their emotional intelligence, whether it's someone trying to become an entrepreneur. What is the one lesson you would like to leave on the Tim Holloway, legacy wall?
Sure. I can see why spur of the moment is good, man. True success happens in transformation, uh, in more so inner transformation. And so when I talk to you about our inside world mirroring our outside world, and you talked about perception being our reality, I do believe we have to start there. Uh, I think that you can get some skill set. I think you can have an amazing looking body. But if we don't develop this kind of soul spirit type realm of us, we can have an awesome body, but be very dark on the inside. And we know people like that. We can have a lot of money in business and not have this soul spirit realm kind of dealt with, and we could think people are pawns for to achieve our goals, and we can have a lot of darkness inside. So that's why I say lead with the heart first, and that is, if you want to begin to transform your life, let's start on the inside. Let's not be as Jesus put it, let's not be whitewashed tombs, looking pretty on the outside, but dead on the inside. And so my thing would be, let's work on the inside. Let's get at the heart level. Let's deal with those beliefs, and let's begin to flourish then from a place of power instead of a place of insecurity and fear.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, Tim, where can people connect with you? I'll put it in the show notes, but where can people connect with you on social media or on your podcast?
Yeah. Facebook. My main thing is helping men get their voice out there through launching a podcast. But if you're into more mindset and heart work, we have a Minute Influence group. We have quite a few brothers in there who are who are on this healing journey. So those two things, Facebook, Tim Holloway, and Men of Influence group on Facebook.
Nice. So, Tim, thank you so much for coming on today, guys. Make sure you guys share this episode with a friend that may be having those self-limiting beliefs, or that that they just need that little reminder that they can do it, they can overcome it, right? And make sure you guys leave us that 5-star review. It really helps us out. But Tim, I appreciate you so much for taking the time out of your day to hop on and drop all this knowledge that you've dropped so far.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Thanks for the time, man.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Just in the game of life, mindset.